So out of nowhere, a game developer that you would never expect is making a console to compete with the next gen Xbox and PS5. Let's get into it.
Skip it up and that up.
So Slightly Mad Studios is the development team behind the Project Cars games, and they were generally highly praised racing games. They were for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. Fun little fact, it was also supposed to come out for the original Project Cars, was supposed to come out for the Wii U, but never did. Gee, I wonder why. Well, anyway, it seems that out of nowhere, Slightly Mad Studios is making a games console. And it's not like some weird niche console. It's gonna, at least from what they're saying, is gonna compete with the next gen Xbox and PlayStation. And it's the most out of left field announcement I've heard in quite a while. Now, Slightly Mad Studios CEO Ian Bell actually tweeted yesterday that this is hopefully not what they're actually going to call the console, that the Mad Box is coming. That may be the worst name for a console I've heard. Maybe I think it may actually be a step below the Atari box. I actually think the Atari box has a better ring to it. Well, this isn't an April Fool's joke. Ian Bell was actually talking to Variety magazine about the specs of the console and what to expect from it. He had first said it's going to release in about 3 years and it's going to support 120 FPS gameplay for VR headsets. And he continues, it will support most major VR headsets and those upcoming, and the specs will be equivalent to a very fast PC 2 years from now. That's interesting. Not a fast PC now. He's actually saying that they're going to try to future-proof this box. We're in early talks with manufacturers of components, so we can't say much more right now, other than we have the design spec out in detail. Now, Ian Bell, this part's interesting. He actually goes on to talk to Variety about how he feels about exclusives for consoles. And this is what he has to say, and I'll tell you after if I agree or disagree with it. We think exclusives are exclusionary, but given that we'll be shipping a cross-platform engine to all developers, it will be their choice. As of now, we have no plans to pay developers incentives to exclude other hardware vendors. The industry is a little too much of a monopoly or micro-oligopoly. Basically meaning that, look, it's been Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo now for 3 generations, basically. And he wants to bring some healthy competition to the console space. I don't know really how that's going to work. And it actually goes back to exclusives. Look, I understand. I know there's a dude on YouTube. I don't know. His channel now I think is called Fail to Listen, or it used to be called Icy Rhythms, or maybe he calls it Icy Rhythms again. Whatever. He's a good guy. I talk to him on Twitter all the time. He's anti-exclusives. And I get the reasoning. It's basically artificially sectioning off pieces of hardware to incentivize people to buy someone else's pieces of hardware. And, you know, in 2018, it's just kind of silly. But with consoles, I just don't agree with it. I understand his point, and I'm not saying that he's wrong, but I still don't agree with it because here is the thing. What makes you buy consoles? What makes you buy a Nintendo Switch? A lot of people, even though I'm loving the fact that AAA third-party games are coming to the Switch, a lot of people still buy that console, or Nintendo consoles, I should say in general, because of the exclusives. And the exclusives are what bring people to Nintendo hardware and to Sony's hardware and kind of to Microsoft's hardware. They haven't been too great with exclusives with the Xbox One, but you get my point. Xbox is still the only place you can play Halo for now, until you can play it on your PC when they release the next one. But yeah. You know, and that's artificially sectioning off hardware to make games exclusive. And obviously, the Xbox One can run Super Mario Odyssey and the PlayStation 4 can run Super Mario Odyssey. But Nintendo knows if the software is exclusive to their platform, you're going to be more incentivized to go buy their hardware. And that's what I always say. There's 2 pillars that keep a platform stable. Third-party support and first-party exclusives. You need both for a piece of hardware to be viable. If you don't have both, even if you have great exclusives, but no third-party support, things are going to be shaky for you. Nintendo has proven that before quite a few times. They've had great first-party games, but because they didn't have the third-party support, their system sales weren't great. But point being, I don't agree with Ian's take on exclusives. I think you need exclusives for people to want to go out and buy your hardware, because if they could get just the same games on your hardware they could get on 4 or 5 different platforms, what's the reason to buy your hardware? You could just buy a PC at that point, where it gets most of the third-party games anyway. Now, Ian Bell says that they have design builds, which they plan on releasing to the public in 4 to 6 weeks. And he also said this about the Mad Box. Please change that name. We have multiple investors already offering the required funding for us to see the product to completion, but it's still early days and we're looking at the best offers right now. Now look, I'm all for more competition, and I do agree with Ian that it is a micro oligopoly right now. You have 3 competitors in the console space and that's it. I mean, I guess you could go out and buy an Ouya if you want. There you go. But I don't really see the specs he's saying, right? He's future-proofing this box, which is interesting. They're saying it's going to be high-end PC specs 2 years from now, not high-end PC specs now, which good on him for doing that. But if there's no must-have games for it, or or it's just games you get on other platforms, someone's going to look at, which may be a great console. The hardware may be fantastic, but someone's going to look at this mad box and be like, okay, it could play games at 4K 60 FPS and it looks great. Actually, it looks better than the next gen Xbox, but I can't play Halo on it, or I can't play the next Last of Us game like I could on the PlayStation 5, so on and so forth, or the list goes on and on. Exclusives are what bring people to a platform. And if Ian's saying that this Mad Box is not going to have any exclusives because he feels it's exclusionary, I hear him and I understand what he's saying, and to a point he's right. There's going to be no incentive to buy this thing. And, even if it's in the same price range or a little bit cheaper, people are just going to, I'm going to go out and buy a PlayStation 5. People are going to say that because they're going to want the must-have games. Like when there's a next God of War, you can only play the next God of War on the PlayStation 5 whenever it comes out. You can't play it on Ian's Mad Box. So, you need those exclusives, Ian. Don't really know how this is going to work. Hopefully it does. I love competition, but if you have no exclusives, you're just a PC that you're calling a console. That's really it. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.
Hey, congratulations! If you made it to the end of the video, you should subscribe to Review Tech USA so you can hear me blabber on some more. Also, too, starting this month, I will be live streaming solely on Twitch. I'll have a link to my Twitch channel below in the description. And last but not least, make sure you click that like button. It helps out the show big time. See you guys in the next video.